So the topic is, what is enlightenment? But I think this this topic, this question, is actually a bit misleading. It's a bit faulty. It's like a Zen koan, right? The very question um, is set up in such a way uh, that it's gonna give a false answer every time. In other words, illusion strikes again. And what I mean by that is the word itself, enlightenment. It sounds like a noun, right? And a noun is a thing, a person, a place, a thing, maybe an event, right? But nowhere in that description or conception, as we normally think of it, is enlightenment, and on indefinitely for the rest of one's life. Right? So inevitably it's going to cause confusion because the way we think about things that end in a strong consonant T like that is just that they're not ongoing and they're not forever. They're not infinite. They're things that we put conceptual bubbles around. And I know it's a way we speak sometimes. Um, I don't want to be totally pedantic about this, which I think I just used that correctly. So, um, what I mean is, some people have an experience of awakening to true nature, which is which can easily be referenced in a human time scale, right? It happened on so and so day, so and so year. The whole thing was very clear. I was walking across the room, I was opening the drawer, I was whatever. And there's such a delineation in that being's life that they can point to it with real clarity and say, "Oh yeah, this is the moment when everything changed for me." And so, for that kind of individual, speaking about enlightenment as a thing that happened, it might make a little sense, right? And um, and then there's the rest of us, which includes myself, and it's people who maybe have had moments like that as well, which were significant, and one could maybe point to in time and space, and then there's also just that which can't be pointed to. When did things become very clear for me? When did life get a lot easier? When did living in an awake way become fairly straightforward, right? These are great questions, which I just don't know the answer to. Because it always seems like, well, right now, of course. Right? There's just, what other time would there be? You know, yesterday seems like a dream. Tomorrow is definitely a dream. And the only thing that seems clear is right here, right now. And so that doesn't lend itself at all to a word which is a noun, in which we treat as a noun. And I haven't answered the question at all, really. What is enlightenment? Which is great, because I want to avoid getting too esoteric and too wordy about this shit. And I may end up doing that anyways, right? If I was to start talking about it too directly, right? What is enlightenment? Well, it's what you are, of course, right? You're all right, yeah, this is better. Fuck the word enlightenment. We don't need it. We're not going to use it. How about that? So I'm not going to answer that question. I'm not going to answer that particular question because I have not found an end point. I don't think there is one, right? Yeah. So if we start from there, that feels more truthful. From here, there's no such thing as enlightenment. And what we can talk about is awakeness. We can talk about presence. We can talk about consciousness. We can talk about silence. We can talk about all these things in contradictory ways. Because truth contains a fuck ton of contradiction. If you haven't realized, I think if you're listening to this, you probably have realized. There's a lot of contradiction in truth. Almost nothing but. So we can talk about a silence that speaks. We can talk about listening. Which is also seeing. We can talk about stillness, which is also movement. All the things that make up a human being. All the things which also constitute the world we see. It's all woven out of the same fabric and follows the same rules. And I want to stay practical and dumb with this. So I'm going to describe just what this mechanism looks like, right? So in the silence between the words, there aren't any thoughts. on a conscious level of thinking. No words pass through my brain. I'm not thinking about anything. Just as you don't think when you're having a good conversation with somebody, when you're really like connecting, right? There's no thought there. You're not usually waiting for like the next person or the other person to stop talking just so you can talk. So there's silence. There's something like the action of listening on my part. And then there's speaking. And the speaking happens when the silence when the silence feels ready. And maybe feels ready, starts to get into a little esoteric territory, but that is the feeling. So it's listening and speaking from silence. And you'll probably hear me use the word silence a lot because it's just a personal favorite. And it's one of the names that I use to refer to myself. So this silence is for you. And this explanation, non-explanation, is for you. there's possibly only one person who needs to hear this. Recorded in a Home Depot parking lot at 6 in the morning. But maybe there's others who would like to know that there's silence here too.